Welcome, moms. It's good to have you back here. I've missed you while we've had this little holiday break, and we'll have another one at the end of this month for Christmas to make sure that we can be present during this really important and very sweet family time. But in the meantime, we get to talk this week and next week for sure. And we'll decide next week about the following Friday, what you moms want to do, but I'm available, so we'll figure it out. It's good to see some faces back that we haven't had for a little bit, so that's nice. I love seeing you all. I want to say here before I forget that I probably should have done that before I pressed record, but that's all right. I want to get your addresses because I would really like to just send a little Christmas card and connect that way. So however you contact me, whatever is convenient for you, whatever's most convenient and easiest, send me your address. You can do it on the Facebook page too. Well, not Facebook page, but Messenger. But I would like to do that. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, before we were on, I did put a little prompt on Instagram. So if any of you saw that and wanted to discuss that, we can definitely do that. If you had something else in mind, I'm just finding it. If you had something else in mind that you wanted to talk about, something from your studies, anything, if you're doing Catch the Vision or the Mother's University, or in your other conversations with other moms or other women in your life, other friends, things that are significant to you, we can discuss those things. So, Melanie, did you go off mute because you wanted to share?
I realized that I was not muted the whole time. I just muted myself. Sorry.
No worries. No worries. And remember, moms, that your kids' faces in the cameras, that's a bonus. That's not a negative. So don't worry about that. That's right. Cadence will always provide that for me, and I love it. I think it's awesome. Okay, so the topic that was on the Instagram was just what sparks joy for you. So as the mom, or even just the female presence and influence in your home, like Daisy, sweet Daisy up there, who's always outside when we're talking. I love that. You have such a power to influence your homes for good, such a power to influence the lives of people around you for good. And so many times that's just a choice you need to make in your head. Maybe you don't feel amazing and great and happy, but could you do something? Could you bring something into your life? Just 5 minutes of something that you enjoy, something pleasant, something that feeds and nurtures your heart, that helps you to be able to then bring a more positive, more pleasant presence, into the lives of those around you. It does take effort, and that's a good thing to learn and remember, so that you don't feel like, well, I don't feel it. Well, no, you probably don't feel it, because life is difficult. There's lots of stuff going on, but there are things we can do that can help us feel better, that can help us mamas, feel inside, okay, I'm good. I'm okay. I feel better. I have fed my heart. I've done something that has made me feel good. That when you fill in the blank, whatever the thing is that helps you to feel better, when you do that, you have that little bit of a warmth, a warming, a rush of a positive feeling, something that happens inside in you. Oh, okay. You have that feeding or nurturing. So what does that look like for you? What are the kinds of things that you can do, that you've noticed that you do when you need to bring that for yourself? What are the things that you can do? Just think about that for a minute. Remember, silence is not a problem. We're not afraid of quiet silence between comments. It's okay to think about what we're talking about and see, do you have a thing that oh yeah, that brings me joy? Cadence?
Well, it made me just think of what I've been doing this week, because I've been reading The Life Giving Home, and basically just living off of this book because it is so amazing. And so right now I've been reading about the bedtime blessing. And well, let me back up. One of the things she talks about is that feeding your soul so that you have something to give type of thing. And I've just been feeling like, so frustrated. Like I try all day and then, I don't get the response I'm looking for in my children sometimes, but carrying on, even if don't have that. But I'm losing my train of thought. Where was I going with this? Okay. Anyway, so yesterday I was like, okay, I have not had any time to myself. I am getting up early tomorrow. So I got up early and I wrote in my journal for like an hour. And it was so therapeutic because I'm just writing out like, oh, I'm so frustrated with this. And I really want this to happen. And this was something I was working on. And by the end of it, I was like in a flow of just like writing out my thoughts. And I felt so much better. And I felt like I was in control of something and I had I don't know what it was, but it was so awesome. And the other thing, don't rewind. Don't. I'm losing my train of thought as it is. Okay. But the other thing that I've been doing from this book is lighting candles, and I really like lighting candles. There's something magical about it for me. It reminds me of birthdays. It reminds me of Christmas. Well, Christmas coming up. So I had my candle next to me while I'm writing. Okay, it was this one, so don't worry, I'm not gonna catch my house on fire. But while I was writing, and what's he doing? He's okay. And that's just been magical. And so I did that yesterday morning. And then I also wanted to try implementing something else she had talked about. And so I feel like that morning was preparing me to be present, to make it to the end of the day, the nighttime routine where you're just like, I'm so ready for some quiet time away. But getting through. And she talks about going and talking to each of her kids at night during that really important time at night, right before they go to bed, the last thing they remember or whatever. And I'm so guilty of go to bed. You have to, at the very end when I've tried to be nice and tried to get you to go to bed and you're still not going to bed. But last night I was like, I'm going to hold out. I am going to have a loving, kind voice, no matter how I feel inside. And I'm going to say goodnight to each of my kids and pray with them. And I'm going to cry because it was so awesome. I felt so connected to my kids. That feeling that I wanted to have, that I don't always have because, life, but I felt like I did it. I did it, I made it through. We had moments, but I made it through the day and we had that wonderful bonding moment at the end of the day. And they still didn't go to bed, but but we had that moment. We had at least one. So that's what I wanted to share.
I love that. I love it. And I love that it started with first thing in the morning, you doing something really great to fill your heart, and that carried you through a day. And I think we need to remember that nourishing, we tend to do it to nourish ourselves maybe once a month-ish, and then we're going to go that whole month on that little bit of fuel, that little bit of warming. And so it's no surprise that we are unable to extend that and keep that going. So that's really hard when we try to go for days and days. So anyway, so that's a wonderful, beautiful example of something you can do that helps you to warm your heart. So anybody else want to share something that they do? Something that feeds you and makes you feel like, okay, I can keep going. Because these moments of overwhelm can be much more common than the moments of peace and happiness and pleasant things. So anybody else have some ideas you've been thinking? Yeah, Melissa.
For me, like my kids are older, they're 14 and 16, and they're self-reliant, but it's like just having them involved in doing little stuff with me, like the other day making a smoothie, which of course I can do that on my own, but asking them, hey, do you want to come and help me? Or like I was repotting some house plants and just having my kids be involved in, helping me with that kind of stuff. And I do embroidery, and to me, I just thought maybe my daughter maybe might think that's boring or something. That's just something that I enjoy doing on my own. And then she came up to me the other day and said that that was something that she was interested in learning. So that was really nice to sit down with her and show her how to do that. So just having them involved in doing, like little things with me, just something that we can do together. So that's nice. And I also in the evenings I go into their room and I sit in there and I check in with them, and we always talk a little bit before they go to sleep, and
Yeah.
also evening prayer, and that's really nice.
I love that. That evening time, if you can get yourself geared up for it, is so beautiful. It's so nice when you can connect with them during that time. I love that. I love that. I love that. Thanks, Melissa. Anybody else?
Got a couple of things I can share.
Yeah, Melanie, go ahead.
One thing for me is music. Music has always meant a lot to me. I've had a lot of beautiful experiences with it. And I haven't had a really good, consistent, like logistical setup for many years for me to just be able to play my music that I've had for many years. And so when I do actually sit down and figure out a way to play my old music from my youth, it's like it takes me back, and it's just refreshing. And so much of the time we're listening to my husband's favorite music because he sets things up and uses his phone bandwidth or whatever. When I use my phone, it's usually like my kids are asking me to play Moana songs or something for me, so
Right.
so I usually play their songs, or we hear my husband's songs. But when I hear like my favorites, it's like, oh yeah, this is refreshing to me. So I'd like to be doing that more often. One other thing is that I just got this book for myself. I just kind of splurged. This book is called Flecks of Gold.
Well,
It's a 3-year journal for mothers. And there's like a parable in the front that talks about a miner. I think it's from a talk actually, but it's about a miner who is like jealous of some other miner, thinking that he's got this big block of gold in its bag, and turns out that it's just a lot of small flecks that he gathered over time. And the idea being, rather than there's a quote I really liked in the front, if I can find it, that rather than for motherhood, not there aren't going to be huge moments that are really meaningful all the time, but if we collect all the small special moments, it adds up and it's really meaningful. I was gonna even underline the part that I loved the other day and I didn't.
See if you can find it. That's fine. I love that story. I think it's so beautiful. Yeah, go ahead.
In motherhood, the hard moments sometimes outnumber the beautiful moments, but the beautiful moments always outweigh the hard moments. So the idea for this book is every day, and again, it's a 3-year journal, so you kind of go back through it again, but you just write down at least one, even small, beautiful moment from that day that you had as a mother, whether it was with your kids or even like just enjoying that peaceful moment with the candles, just one special moment that you had that day that you can kind of collect those memories and focus on the good. And the person that created this said, as she started doing this, it helped her notice those things more easily during the day. It's called Flecks of Gold. And so she started noticing them more often and helped her be more present in those moments to really kind of soak them up.
Okay, I love that. I think that's great. And that's such a good reminder. And I love the idea of the those more meaningful moments outweigh, even though they don't outnumber maybe all the trivial or even difficult moments, they outweigh those moments. And I think that's a good thing for us to remember. And me with because I'm so much older than the rest of you, and I'm looking back on my time with my kids, and I'm able to even talk with my kids about it, gosh, the things that they treasure are those tiny little, the things that were so simple and required no advanced preparation from me, no major effort from me. It was all those simple things. And I think, wow, if I had known. So that's why I try to tell you, just do those simple little things. Those are the things that they remember, the things they really, really care about. So, but it's hard to remember that. Laura, you're outside. Are you available?
I'm wrestling kids.
Oh, well, that's a given, huh? So good though. I love seeing you outside, seeing the sunshine. You and Daisy both. That's awesome.
I actually did have a thought.
Yeah, go.
When you were saying, what do we do when we're frustrated in those hard moments? Like Melissa was saying, that sometimes those hard moments are more often than the good moments. I always try to turn to prayer, right? When those hard moments come. And it's amazing to me how often the answer is to just go read to my children. Just go sit and read them a book, and how that just kind of calms everybody and calms and brings us together. And then we have something fun to talk about, a fun story that was an adventure that we just went on, but we just sat on our couches and read it. And so I loved what everybody has said so far, but that's what I kept thinking.
Yeah, I think that's so, so good. The silly thing I put on the Marco Polo the other day with my say no, say yes, was just this reminder. There are so many little tiny things that we can say yes to that are actually so nice for us. Because if the answer you get from heaven is go read a book to your kids, you get to go sit down. You get to stop what you're doing, relax for a moment, cuddle with your kids, and read a book. And that's actually, if you can look at it as an opportunity to give you something for your heart, rather than something that's messing up the internal schedule that you have, that really truly most of the time is just, was created by us, but we do not have to. We're not a slave to it. We should not be a slave to it. And we should learn to be flexible and say yes to all those heart moments, and try really, really hard to say no to a lot of the others. And I remember being in this stage, and I remember feeling like, but you don't understand. I have this list of things and they have to be done. But I think, at least for me, I look back at this COVID time and I think, wow, this was, I think this was heaven giving us this opportunity to say, oh, I could say no to a lot of things. I could take a lot of extra things out of my life, and that's okay. Now, oh, you know what? That might actually be really great. There are a lot of things that if you really looked at it, if it wasn't you, but it was your best friend or something, you could give them all the reasons why. No, you don't have to do that. You could say no. Here's how you could do it. But for some reason, when it's with ourselves, we think, oh, no. I have to get all these things done. Sometimes just giving yourself permission to say, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make my life crazy. I'm going to say yes to the simple and the beautiful things. Mary, it's good to see your face. Did you come on camera so you can share? I hope you're going to share with us. You always have wonderful things to say too.
Well, thank you. I didn't actually come on camera. I just am trying to be better about coming on camera, and I got my kids out of the bath. So I felt like I could do that now.
Good.
But it is good to be back. I deleted my alarm forever. I turned off my alarm forever ago, and then I never remembered that it was Friday. And so I saw your on Instagram, and it was a great reminder, and I went, oh, I'm setting my alarm so that I don't forget. So it's good to be back.
Good. It's good to have you back. Thanks. Okay. Other thoughts, things that keep you able to say yes to the simple and the beautiful things that warm your heart or spark joy or whatever you want to talk about. What's on your heart? That's the important stuff. And Amy, I'm so happy to see my sister-in-law Amy back. She's usually listening at work, so she's not always able to come on, but Amy last year did one of our classes on music, if you remember that. So Amy's a very talented musician. She's got degrees, a doctorate actually in music. What's your doctorate in exactly?
Clarinet performance.
Clarinet
music education.
And if you're in Utah, she is part of a string quartet. Is that what you?
It's a woodwind quintet.
Oh yeah, not string, because she plays woodwind, and I know this. But it's Aspen Winds. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. And I was just going to mention something that we're doing this year that it just makes me happy is I always read to my kids still, even though they're getting older. And this year, once we put the Christmas tree up, she's like, can we just read under the tree? So every evening, we're just reading stories next to the lighted Christmas tree. And it's so cute. Like, it just makes a great ending of the day and a good time to check in. Usually only Rose is really participating, but the other ones will wander in and out while we're doing that. And it's kind of fun.
And it's magical. I think it's magical to do that. And it's fun for me because my older kids, when they're around, they want to do that. And mine are all over 20. They want to lay, well, Michael's not, but they want to lay under the tree, with their heads under so they can see the lights, and they want me to read. So I love it. I think it's great. Thanks for bringing that up. That's a good thing to think about and remember. There's an old book on teaching children, and stay on, Amy, because I want to go back to you. But and it was written in the mid 1800s by a man, and it is the best, in my opinion, one of the best books on child training. But the very end is a chapter on making Christmas magical for children, and I love that. I love that was a priority. That you want to gift them this time, just along the same vein as why fairy tales are important, and you want to make sure that your children have these experiences, right? Is this idea of making Christmas magical, and that what Amy mentioned is such a great way to do that. A simple little but lovely way to do that. Anyway, back to you, Amy. Sorry.
Oh, I don't know. That was like the main theme. But even my work kids, so I have college kids that work for me in the office, and they've like got into decorating like nothing else this year. I think they just needed it. It's been our first year back to normalcy, and it's been getting hectic. And I love that they put up lights and have Christmas music playing, and just we can create an atmosphere with just our setting. And you don't even have to say anything, but it's kind of branched out because one of the girls at work wrote cute little notes to everybody the other day and left them with their name tags. And just the tiny kindnesses that can change people's attitudes and just change the trajectory of their day.
Yeah, I love that, Amy. Thanks. So Amy works at BYU. She's in the music department. You manage the music. What do you do?
I run the instrument office. So it's a high-paced place. We've been loading equipment all, because all the end of year concerts are going on. So yeah, I've been sending crews all over campus. Go set up for this jazz band, go set up for the orchestra, go do this, and the choirs and everything. And it's really fun, and we get to hear beautiful music, but it can get stressful like anything else can.
Sure, right. But you have a choice, right? You can choose to bring some sunshine and cheerfulness to it, or you can get caught up in the hecticness, and you can send those vibes out to whoever is around you. Sometimes all you need is a Santa hat, and it sends a message to people. I'm serious. Santa hats are magical. You put a Santa hat on your head. Go ahead.
We just had that experience. Like, it was kind of a grumpy day, and we were getting ready to read scriptures, and Rose just put a Santa hat on everybody's head. It was funny. I'm like, okay, that works. Okay. It is hard to stay grumpy in a Santa hat.
Yes, I agree. I mean, that's a small investment for some happiness. But I love it. Okay. What else? What else do you ladies want to talk about? How are you feeling? Are any of you feeling, do any of you feel that struggle of, think about, this is a question to think about, then we'll go to Daisy. But do you feel that struggle of, I'm not so crazy about the holidays, or I'm having a hard time this year. How do I get to feeling better? So Daisy, we'll go to you.
Well, I was just going to share a couple of experiences I've had in my life. Well, so one time I was just feeling so stressed out, and I can't even remember what was going on, but I decided I was just gonna look at art. And so I got on the page on the Well Educated Heart, and I just was like, look at the pretty pictures, and I'm like, okay, nothing else matters right now but these beautiful pictures. And I think art is really therapeutic. Creating art can be stressful, but I also think it's very therapeutic. But looking at art has really helped me in the past, and then also being out in nature always helps me to I can just take a deep breath and be outside for an hour, and then I can come back to life with a renewed optimism and renewed strength, I think. So those are just my little nuggets.
I love it. So art and nature, and those are two of those things that we try to include in our life. So this is what Daisy's talking about on the Well Educated Heart site. There's Simple Joy art collection, and you can go through and you can look at art about fine art of families, of nature, of of nations, by different nations. It's just beautiful, and it's the collections that you see with the quotes that Marlene will post sometimes on the Well Educated Heart Facebook page. Those paintings come from these collections, and they're just beautiful. And looking at art is such an incredible experience. It really is. I remember the first time I went in person, and I'm sure I've shared that with all of you, but it was a spiritual experience. I mean, it was just incredible. I had no idea how powerful that would be. So it makes sense that that would be something on our list of things that can warm our hearts, spark joy, help us feel peace, contentment, and help us be fed so that we can move forward. Yeah, Cadence.
When you were talking about the art, it reminded me of when I was a teenager and we went to the BYU Art Museum. And I remember feeling really bored. And I was like, what am I doing? No, and I looked around and I found a painting that I actually liked. And it's actually one of those paintings, one of the artists on Well Educated Hearts. When I saw it, I was like, oh, that's the painting. That's the one I loved. I think it was by a French artist, and it was one of two sisters sitting on a wall. But it was it touched me. It drew me to it. And as a teenager that wasn't interested in art, I liked this one. And so anyway, that just reminded me of that experience.
I love it. I love it. And I love that that's one that you feel connected to. And I think I had a little minor accident over here. I think that it's important to find pieces of art and pieces of music that you connect with personally and for your kids. I remember that first museum experience. I had 3 kids in tow. One I was wearing, just little Kate, and then Stevie and Sarah. And I really wanted them to I didn't know what I was going to do when I went. I had no idea. It was my first time. I'd had no experience with art. I just didn't know what I was doing. And when I had that experience, I thought, can my children have this same kind of a feeling about a piece of art? So then instead of me being the boss and dragging everybody where I wanted to go, which is how I roll, that's usually what I do. I'm sure you guys can't imagine that at all, that I would take control and run everything. But I decided to let my children, I said, let's just, see what you guys want to see. Let's go look at whatever you guys want to look at, just look in the room and pick something you want to go closer to. And so that's how we did the rest of the time. And they ended up at the end of the experience, they took some of their money and they bought little prints of the pictures that they fell in love with. And to this day, those artists are some of their favorite artists, and they have a very special place in their heart for these prints. I mean, even like got them framed and, anyway. And then have had their own experiences with art, but it's kind of magical how that can affect your heart. I love it. I love that. And Linnell, did you come on camera to share, or are you just able to come on camera? I just don't want to miss anybody.
I was just able to come on, but I do have something to share. I'll share
good.
now. The past few days, maybe the past week or so, I've kind of been feeling like Mr. Grinch, and I haven't been excited about the festivities and about my children. They're at an age where they want to do everything. and they want to do it all now, and
Mhm.
they don't care about anything else. So I have to either do what they say or they're grumpy. And so just balancing everything has been a struggle, and I've been discouraged with some unmet expectations and some feelings of things not working out in service opportunities. And so I've just been feeling down. But as I knew we were going to have this meeting, and part of me didn't feel like connecting today. Like I don't feel good enough to warm my heart. Do you ever feel that
Mhm.
way? Or you just not feeling soft enough to
Cadence.
share in a
Yeah.
feel good, warm, happy, and you just don't
Mhm.
have anything to contribute. But it's by connect, like I know it's good for me. I know that it's a good thing to participate even if I don't feel like it. And so I came um reflecting on this past week, trying to think of what has given me joy, because even if I'm struggling to be happy or to feel in the holiday spirit and do all the holiday things my kids want to do, I know that I can find some joy. And that journal, Melanie, that you shared with us, the Flecks of Gold, I have been doing it for the whole year. I started on January 1st, and it has been such a blessing. And I've shared it before, and it
Mhm.
really helps to reflect on one thing in that day. Even when I've had a horrible day and think nothing went right, I can always find something. And so I've been thinking, okay, what has brought me joy this week? What have I been grateful for? What are my flecks of gold? And I want to share with you some of them that I came up with, because there are good things and there are things that have brought me joy. So, music, I had just gotten my daughter out of the bath and was drying her, and I just started singing a Christmas song. And she's 2 years old, and she joined in with me. It was the sweetest because it was the first time she sang with me, and it's a song I'm teaching my older kids. And so I'm intentionally teaching the older ones, but she's picked up. And it was such a tender moment that my 2-year-old was able to sing along when I haven't really been teaching it to her, but she's been absorbing it. And for poetry, there's a poem that my son read that he really liked, and he's like, it was meaningful to him. And I think he might memorize it. I encouraged him to. It's called My Gift, and it's from this book, Children's Hour, Book 5. It says, "What can I give him, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would give him a lamb. If I were a wise man, I would do my part. But what can I give him? I will give him my heart." Isn't that sweet? My 6-year-old son was able to connect with that
Mhm.
poem. So poetry has been a blessing. For story, I looked up a story from the rotation yesterday, and we found a story about Rome in the elementary section called The Dog of Pompeii. And you should go read it. It touched my heart. And I think it, my son may have gotten a little teary eyed reading it. And at dinner time, he wanted us to share it with my husband because it was such a heartwarming story. And I've thought about that story and what I learned from it all day. So, story has touched my heart. And nature, there was a day this past week that the kids wanted to go out and it was cold, and I didn't want to, and I wanted to stay inside. But when that happens, I know I need to get myself out anyways. I know that nature is very healing. And so I went out anyways. And it was nighttime. We used headlamps. We went on our bikes. We went to a nearby park. And my sons were playing in the sand pit, and they were so happy. And you can't help but feel their joy when you see their joy. And so they had headlamps. It was pitch black. They were digging in the sand, and we live in Minnesota where there's supposed to be snow now, and so they're missing it, but there's no snow on the ground. And so they felt like the sand was their snow pit, and they were having fun with the tractors, and I don't know what they're doing, but they were just so happy. So let's see, music, poetry, story, nature, all of these things have been a blessing to me. And so it's helpful to just take a step back and realize that even though I may feel discouraged, there are still flecks of gold to help me find joy in my day.
I love it. Thank you. That's so good. And I just love that idea of flecks of gold, that reminder for us as moms that it's just those tiny little things and to look for them. Also, backloading your day, this idea of at the end of the day, look at and think about or write down the things you did that you feel good about, rather than making a list of things that you're going to feel bad about at the end of the day because you're not going to get to all of them, which was my experience all my years. And so I felt a little bit discouraged at the end of my days, rather than, and then when I changed, it made a huge difference when I just looked back on my day to say, I mean, I have an overall list of everything I need to get done. I know what that all is. And I can, I write it down so I don't miss a thing. But then I can just, if I do that, have an overall list and then pray in the morning about what would you have me do, and talk to Heavenly Father about that. Then you approach your list that way. And then at the end of the day, go through the things that you did, maybe some on your list and some not on your list that the Spirit directed you to do. And you feel great because you realize, okay, I did the things that mattered. I did the things that I was supposed to. I responded to the Spirit. It's just the way that the Lord has things worked out for us really is a way that will help us feel peace and content and joy through the job that it really is in the work of motherhood. I think that's pretty amazing. It really shows his love for us. Mary.
So I'm actually, you asked that question about, struggling with the holidays, and I usually don't. I don't really have a lot of issues with the holidays. I actually really enjoy them typically. But this year has been hard just because my husband got a new job and we're moving to Utah. And he works, at least during the holiday season, he works 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off. So he's gone until so he'll be here for Christmas. But he's going to be gone when we move, and I'm getting ready to move without him, and I'm pregnant. And so it's like, I've had a hard time because I haven't been able to do all of the things. Like Christmas is usually a really special time in our family. And I love to do have 3 different Advent things that I like to do. I have books and we have this candy thing. And anyway, and I haven't been able to do all of that because I'm in the middle of moving and we're trying to separate houses because we're living with my mother-in-law. And so we don't have any decorations up. We haven't done anything. And usually that's right after Thanksgiving. And so I just really appreciate this conversation because I didn't realize how much I'd been struggling with that until we started talking. And I was like, okay, I just have to let go of my expectations this year. And luckily, my oldest is 5. So he's starting to understand Christmas and, get excited for it and stuff like that. But he isn't we haven't had our traditions long enough that
right
cares if I let things go this year. And if we get our Christmas decorations up next week instead of this week, you know what I mean? It'll be okay. And so I really appreciate this. And it's just making me realize that I can let go of some of my expectations, and spending time together is more important than all of the things that for me make the holiday season. I'm really entrenched in tradition. I always have been. And so yeah.
Mary, I'm really glad you shared that. That would be, you have all these moms thinking, okay, wait, now where's Mary from? How far away am I? Can I go help her? Remind us where you live.
So I live in Idaho Falls. And we'll be moving to Springville, Utah. So
that's where Amy lives. That's where Amy Gavidas lives.
Oh, yay.
And Amy is an amazing contact. Amy, are you still around? Are you even close at all to your phone, to your camera? Amy knows everybody, she knows everything that's going on. So Mary, did you hear all that? Mary's moving to Springville.
I did. And also, Mary, I was thinking about you because I have moved pregnant without a husband, and I have also done Christmas without a husband. And it's hard. It brought back a lot of memories of how hard it was, but also very precious too. We made some really cool memories the year he was gone. So it is doable, but Springville is awesome. You're going to love it. So yeah, we'll have to be in touch. When are you moving here?
I am moving the first week of January. So
okay. Very fun. Do you know where? Do you have a house yet? Or?
What?
Do you have a house yet?
We have an apartment. Yeah. So
what part of town are you going to be in?
I am about a block and a half away from the library. So
Awesome. We're on Center Street. We're really close to the library. So we'll have to be in fun. That's really fun. I think you'll love it. So in fact, you're probably gonna be in our stake.
I took the board I'm going to be in, but I don't have it memorized yet.
That's okay. None of them
Hey.
hate. All of them are good.
So you too, see what a blessing to you may have a bunch of hectic right now, but what a blessing to when you're done, when you're there, you have Amy, a built-in friend and contact already, and she just knows what's going on. She always knows what's going on all over the place. And she's got a warm, wonderful family that just welcomes everybody. So her house is the place to be. So
Well, awesome. Thank you guys.
well, and I wish I lived closer. Go ahead, Daisy.
Oh, I was just gonna ask Mary, this is a random question, but does your husband work for the railroad? Is that what his?
No, he actually works in Kanab, so kind of far away, but closer than here. He works in wilderness therapy. So he got a job with Wingate Wilderness Therapy and he just loves it. So
Well, that's way cooler than the railroad. No, my works for the railroad. And so I heard the 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off, and that's kind of how they operate on the UP. So I didn't know.
oh, well, that's awesome. No, railroad would be awesome. You get to travel and stuff.
Yeah, Lindsay Bunting's husband works for the railroad. So, but I think Mary Hamlin, I think I know the people who own Wilderness Therapy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think the wife she's a younger sister of one of my husband's friends. And anyway, that's really cool.
Does that friend happen to be a Sean Fisher?
I don't know his name. I don't know the name of. I know her name's Michelle, but I know she's connected with Wilderness Therapy. So
yeah, that's awesome.
that's super
I think
cool.
Michelle, the owners. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yes,
is so weird. That's so weird. But there are always connections. If you can talk long enough, you can find how you're connected to everybody, and I love that.
Yes.
Well, Mary, you're going to be okay. You're going to do okay.
Thanks.
What a blessing that your oldest is 5, and like you said, it's only your entrenchment in the traditions. So,
Yeah.
but I would like to encourage you to look for a little way every day that you can do something Christmassy that feeds your heart and feeds that missing, what you're missing during this holiday season, because it'll be worth it. It'll be worth those 5 minutes, that you just take to feel all the feels,
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you shared. Oh, but I have to tell you, for the faces, the mamas that were on camera, when you shared that, there was so much love and compassion that I could feel through this, through the screen. These are for real friends. I love that the connections here are so real. It's so genuine. I love it. I love it. So thanks for you guys being here today. And even those of you who have to be off camera, we understand about that. And Cassie, it's good to have you back too. We have missed you. Okay, any other thoughts, moms? We're getting close to the end here. We're trying to keep ourselves to an hour. We've been doing pretty good. Go ahead, Laura.
I just wanted to share, last week I watched The Minimalist Mom, and she had a thing on minimalizing Christmas. And she talked about how we get so caught up in preparing and making Christmas that we forget to spend the time with our kids and make those memories with our kids. And so I thought about that. And so in preparing our calendar for December, I sat all my kids down and said, okay, you guys, what tradition do you guys want to do this Christmas? And it was amazing to me. Like one kid just said, spend time together as a family. And so it was amazing to me, the things that they wanted to do and the things that did not mean anything to them. And it really simplified our month and helped. I feel like it helped us focus on spending time together over all the busyness that can happen at Christmas time. And so I just wanted to share that little tidbit. She had a lot of really good points, and I think it's going to bless us, and maybe that info could help a lot of you guys, especially merry with this month. Oh my goodness. I can't imagine, but you will be in our prayers for sure.
And that makes a difference. It really does. So for those of us who are here and can do that, let's do that. Remember Mary in our prayers every day, specifically because she's signing. Thank you. Because she will feel that. It will help. She will be buoyed up and it will help her get through what she's doing. And that is such a beautiful thing. That is a very real and powerful way that we connect with one another, is through being able to pray for each other. I love that. Linnell.
I have another resource to add to Laura's. It's Ralphie from Simply on Purpose. She does a Days of Togetherness, and she has taught that children just want time and they just want their parents. So the traditions definitely enrich and enhance the celebration, but what's the point of traditions? Just to spend time together. And so I've been trying to remember that and keep our celebrations simple. And on December 1st, we just had a dance party, and it was scheduled to have a dance party, but it got away from us the whole day. It was bedtime and we still hadn't done it. And I knew I really wanted to make that memory. And so the kids were all in bed, ready to go to bed. And I just put on a Santa hat, played Jingle Bells with the speaker, and brought out the strobe light. And they were so happy. It was the happiest time of the day for them, just before bedtime. So it took no preparation on my part. It took some willingness and some heart to actually get myself to do it. But it was really meaningful to them. And yesterday we set up the Christmas tree. We hadn't done it. We usually do it after Thanksgiving. But last year, here's a story. My kids were playing with the ornaments last year and they broke them all. So we had to throw them away. And Laura recently shared with us in the Marco Polo group, we'll just teach your children, don't break it. I'm not at that point yet. So my children don't know, don't touch the Christmas tree. They don't know these are breakable, leave them alone. I mean, they were plastic, but they still broke them. So we had no ornaments, and they were really sad. They were discouraged. They would ask me every day, can we go buy ornaments? Can we decorate the tree? And yesterday my son grabbed all his Legos. They have these big holes in them, and he used his Legos to decorate the tree. And it looks really good and it's really cute. So it has the lights and it has his Legos, and it might be my favorite tree because it was his idea and he decorated it. So our children will do those simple things, and it's enough to fill their hearts and to fill ours. And it counts. It counts as memories. It counts as time well spent. And I see both showing us some toys too. Are those your Legos?
I think so. Those are
So
very
Days of
cool.
Togetherness from Ralphie is another good resource.
Thank you for sharing that resource. That's good. Good reminders. Cool Legos, both. Thank you. Yeah, just remembering to try to make things simple and enjoy. I remember last year too, as we were approaching Christmas, we talked about this. I think I asked you, ask your children what is important to them. What do they want to do this Christmas season? And we were all surprised at the list. Some of them was just they want Christmas lights. Oh, well, I can do Christmas lights. You didn't say gingerbread houses, made from scratch with all, and I think that's super fun. I've never actually done it. I've gone to friends' houses to do it, and if that's your thing, then great, then do it. But wouldn't it be nice to find out that you were excused from some of these things that maybe were a little harder for you to make happen, and your kids got maximum joy and fulfillment out of those simple little things that are easy for you and actually enjoyable for you. It's pretty cool. Cadence, were you going to share? You're typing probably. Are you typing? Yes, she's typing, but we love to hear.
I was
from you.
just gonna share that I was trying to simplify things this year, and so we have a countdown calendar where we move the baby Jesus from each day down to Christmas. And so this year I put the light the world. I cut up the pieces and put them in
Smart.
days. So we're gonna have something to do together as a family that's like service oriented or whatever it is. But they're really simple things, so I'm not feeling super stressed about it.
That's nice. That's so good. Well, so the other day I had a thought, in a very different place all of a sudden, my kids are all gone and they're not coming home. I mean, that's not what I meant to say. I had many of my children leave this year and they're gone. I have one child at home, and that's very different. And my missionary's gone and won't be home for Christmas. Obviously, my two married kids are going to their in-laws for Christmas, so they won't be home for Christmas. So it's all very, very different. My December's so different, but it has been beautiful. I am loving it. I am trying to kind of recreate it and figure out what to do. And so one of the things I've done is put service into my schedule. And so my service has been, a lot of it has been outward, reflected outward, going and putting up Christmas decorations with an elderly sister and, things like that. But as I've got ready to do them, and I don't like to leave my house. I love to stay home. I love to be home. I love to not have to go anywhere. That is my greatest, most wonderful thing, is to just stay home. So I see some of you who agree. So for me to leave the house is like a big deal, and I'm sort of a baby about it. Amy probably totally knows this, and Amy's completely different from me. And I think sometimes Amy, with good reason, rolls her eyes at me because I just don't want to leave, and I think I feel so bad for myself if I have to leave. So anyway, I was thinking the other day, my goodness, Lori, these service opportunities are such a blessing for you, because it's the month, especially now, it's the month of December. If I want to give something back to Heavenly Father, and if I want to give a gift to my Savior, the thing I can give is service. That's the thing that I have that I can give. And if I give it with a cheerful heart, what a great thing, because it's going to be something that is appreciated, but it's also going to bless me and bless my heart. I would counsel with you moms who have any children in your homes, the service you do, the most important service you can do is to your husband and your children. So make that your priority, especially during Christmas season. Make your family your priority, to serve them. There will be outside opportunities. Those will come up, and be prayerful about those, because sometimes I think we have opportunities to be tested a little bit, and keep our priorities in order, and husbands and children. So the service you provide for your family gives you great opportunities to show your love for the Savior. And it really does change how you feel about the service and about the people you're doing the service for. You see them in a very different light, because you use that opportunity to share your love of the Savior in that act. And so I'm just sharing that with you. That is a way that I'm finding that is sparking joy and really a lot of contentment in my heart. And so that's been a real blessing. Any other thoughts before I turn over to Linnell? And also, just now at the end, I'll say again, I am so happy that my friend Melissa with the purple happy face background joined us today. It is so great. I told her about all of you ladies, and what wonderful friends you are to me, and how grateful I am for all of you. And Melissa wanted to come, so I'm super excited that she has. And she's gone to Well Educated Heart and read a little bit and watched a little bit, and has found some good things there. So we're hoping that Melissa continues with us on this journey. So it's really good to have you. And then Melissa, who is so politely raising her hand. Yeah, go ahead, Melissa.
Sorry, just with the last comment, I had a thought. When, not necessarily about Christmas, but just about all the things we like expect of ourselves for other people, or like, oh, we need to do all the traditions or things like that. When we got married, we met with a church leader a couple times. He had a pattern of meeting with engaged couples and going over different things like budgets and traditions and whatnot. And one of the days he talked about traditions and holidays, like, what are you going to do for this holiday? What are you going to do for that holiday? What do you expect on this? And he looked at me and said, okay, Valentine's, what do you expect? And I said, an orchid, and maybe we have a nice dinner. But if I get an orchid every Valentine's, I'm happy. And he looked at me and he said, really? And my husband was like, really? I was like, oh yeah, don't give me Valentine's chocolates. I don't like those. nope, I just want an orchid and maybe a nice dinner sometime that week. And I could just see in both of their heads, they were expecting all these things that the husband had to check off for Valentine's Day that didn't mean anything to me. And probably just would have been irritating if they're trying to check off this and running ragged. Sorry, my phone. And I think just those thoughts about what our kids look forward to in the holidays, oftentimes it might be very different than what we expect. Just like what we think our spouse might want or vice versa, I think often is very, very different than what we see. And so just, it's okay to not do all the things.
Yeah. Yeah. That expectations, remember we talked about that, can be a bad word. But we just need to step away from that and find out what really does matter, what people actually care about. I think that's awesome, Melissa. That's a good reminder.
In my other mother's group this week, we're looking at the customs of our culture or our patterns or traditions and just kind of evaluating why is that something we want to continue? Why are we doing that? And the story of maybe you guys have heard it, the woman who cut off the ends of her roast and her husband was like, why are we cutting off the ends of the roast? And she goes, I don't know, that's why my mom did it. And she went to her mom and said, Mom, why do we cut off the ends of our roast? And she said, I don't know, that's why how my mom did it. So she called grandma and said, Grandma, why do we cut off the ends of the roast? And she goes, because my pan was too small.
Yeah. Right. I love that story. I use that story regularly because it is so good. And so often we get caught up in that. Yeah, that's so good, Melissa. Thanks for sharing that. I love it.
So maybe just evaluate what you're doing for the holidays and see if maybe you're just cutting off the ends of the roast because you're used to it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love it. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, friends, I hope you're glad that you came. Even for those of you who were feeling a little bit Grinch-ish, I'm glad that you came and were able to come and be part of this discussion. I love it. I love that we're able to share and have this time together. So as usual, we're going to go to Linnell for a summary of our discussion. So thanks, Linnell.
Thank you all for coming today. That was me, the Grinch, and I'm leaving now feeling uplifted, feeling motivated and encouraged. I appreciate your examples of love and service and hope. It helps me to refocus, and my association with you inspires me to focus on my role as a mother and my influence and focusing on the basics, the most important. And I just want to share a simple poem to wrap up. This is in the Catch the Vision, volume 1, and it's page 245. The rush of Christmas traffic blurs the days that we prepare to celebrate the birthday of a babe so sweet and fair. In all the rush, did we neglect a place for Christ to stay? A tiny manger in our hearts where he may spend each day. For once within his presence grows, the love that will unfold will be enough to reach and warm a world confused and cold. I hope that this Christmas season we find time each day to spend with the Savior, because it is through him that we can find warmth and love in order to share with others.
Perfect. As always, thank you so much, Linnell. And thanks everybody else for being here. And we will see each other again next Friday. Remember, send me your addresses. And if you want to be part of the Facebook group, let me know. Send me a private message and I'll include you there too. Bye.